just tell you a little bit about what we're going to do while we're waiting to head over to my region, which is called the Digital Citizenship Outpost. And I'm hoping that it will really relate to AI and what you're studying in this class. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Dr. Valerie Hill. I've been in Second Life for quite a long time, researching changing literacy. And 3D worlds are certainly a part of literacy. And I'm also researching digital citizenship, what that means, and how we can help the next generation learn to balance their virtual and digital lives with their physical world and their physical lives. And currently, there's a huge impact with AI that impacts that research of mine, both changing literacy and digital citizenship. So I'm just going to cam around here and look at your signage here. You've been talking about the birth of artificial intelligence, AI training and AI slavery, big data, AI supercomputers, AI and skill transformation, new professions being created by AI. This is a fascinating time, and I hope that what we talk about today, my goal is to talk about where we are right now, and then what has changed, and how do we deal with that. That's the goal. And then next week, I'm kind of excited because you're the first class that I have taught that's going to get to try out my new immersive experience to climb AI mountain. You'll be mountain climbers, and maybe you will help me figure out the best ways to teach this, because that's what you're doing anyway. You're learning about AI and the future of AI and how that impacts our lives. For me, I'm really interested in how we can teach that at a young age to really young children, because they see it all the time. It's around them. And they're also in virtual worlds like this. So here's our starting point. I will ask you all to stand, and I'm going to also give you the landmark in case you get lost. It's actually called Oscillation Atrium. Let me drop you the landmark so you can come back to it later, and I'll meet you at the Digital Citizenship Outpost.
Linke tıklayarak da gelebilirsiniz arkadaşlar.
Where are we now? And that's a brief introduction to metamodernism. And then the second question, what has changed? And that's where we'll talk about new literacy. And then finally, are you a good digital citizen? We will talk about digital citizenship. And reflecting on these questions will help us understand where we are, how literacy is different, and the need for digital citizenship as AI quickly evolves. We will go through 3 seasons today: spring, summer, and fall. Spring will be the metaphor for metamodernism. Summer, the metaphor for changing literacy, meta-literacy, and fall is digital citizenship. We'll learn about these 3 seasons. And if you realize that we're at the center of the simulation region, if you cam out, you can see words are circling around you. They're oscillating around you. Oscillation is a key concept of metamodernism. We live now in metamodern culture. You can come back here and learn about the tension of opposites that we oscillate between, physical and virtual. So let's follow me to Metamodern Hall. That's where we will begin today. If you'll walk this way into the spring quadrant of the region, or you can teleport to that slurl if you prefer to just click on the slurl. But I wanted you to get the feeling of how this region is designed into 4 seasons. And if you cam out, you'll be able to see all 4 seasons. This is Metamodern Hall. Metamodernism is founded, as I said, on oscillating concepts. And we oscillate between respect for our past history and excitement about the innovation of the future. So if you look this way to the north, you'll see a sundial where it says respect for the past. And I have some old buildings and some interactive content that helps us consider respect for history. And if you look to the south, this direction, you'll see a futuristic clock and my futuristic meta office that helps us contemplate respect for the excitement and innovation of the future. Inside Metamodern Hall, I sometimes do classes and workshops on our current philosophical era, our current philosophical moment in time. And people sit on these diamond rocks and we can discuss those concepts. We won't do that today because we have a lot to cover. You can return here to learn more about metamodernism. If I walked back to the oscillation atrium in the center of the sim, you will see that there are the 4 seasons, and we will move next to summer. You can follow me to summer this way, or you can just click on the slurl that I put in local chat. I see ahead is my oscillation atrium. I'm just going to sort of take a little side path. We're leaving spring and we will move into summer. If you're intrigued by the concept of metamodernism, come back later and click on all the note cards and objects. Now I'm heading to summer. I put the slurl in the chat. You can walk right past me and into Metaliteracy Commons. Literacy has changed. It's no longer simply reading and writing. And we're going to talk about what it is now. So walk inside and please have a seat on a stump. I'm going to briefly tell you a little bit about metaliteracy, which is part of literacy today. So find a seat on a stump, please. I'll just sit over here on the corner stump and then you all can find one too. All right, I'll sit right here. And you can see I have some metaliteracy slides. I'm not going to go through all of them today. I'm going to give you a brief introduction to metaliteracy, a new way to learn and communicate beyond a pencil, paper, and book. First, how many of you share content online in one of these ways? Discord, Twitch, Facebook, X, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, Reddit? Do you have a blog? A lot of you probably post in some type of online platform. Type the name of that platform where you post in the local chat, please. YouTube, Instagram, great. I'm seeing Marino has an Instagram and a YouTube. If anybody else wants to type in chat, a place where you might post, maybe TikTok, LinkedIn, yes. We are all posting content all the time. This is new literacy. Look at my slide up here. We're not just readers and writers. We're prosumers. And this slide shows that we both consume online content and we produce it. And now we can produce it with AI. This is new literacy. And that term was first coined by Alvin Toffler. Even kindergartners are producing and consuming content. Alvin Toffler also said this, and I'll pull it forward. I love this quote because it's new literacy. When I was growing up, it was paper and pen and book. It was before the internet. But Alvin Toffler says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. That's 21st century literacy. I'll move that quote back. We can't master all of our tools quickly as they're emerging around us. All of the different platforms and applications, and now the AI tools. In the past, we learned through a hierarchy of mastery, but that's not true any longer. But guess what? Reading and writing are still foundational to literacy, but more and more we hear of digital literacy, because most content is now born digital. Well, what is digital literacy? Here's another quote that I really like, because teachers have to struggle with how to teach these changing applications. This quote says, "Digital literacy focus misses the mark." Educators are focusing on technology as the issue. They can't even agree on a definition for digital literacy, but instead appear to be circling the wagons around the idea that students somehow need to learn how to use their phones, tablets, and laptops with skill to deal with information intelligently. But there's much more to digital literacy than learning how to use technology tools. So I'm going to show you a little bit about new literacy, and it's called metaliteracy. And here are the components. We're not going to do a lot with these today. I just want you to think about this. Metaliteracy includes learning domains, roles that you get to choose from, characteristics of being a good learner and digital citizen, and objectives, goals and learning objectives. All of these come together, and look in the very center. I'll zoom into the very center. In the very center of that is the metaliterate learner. That's you, that's me, that's all of us. So metaliteracy has these 4 learning domains, and this is what I want you to think about today. Here they are. These are the 4 domains, and I'm going to walk on them and explain them. You use them in this class. You use them when you're interacting with AI. This is new literacy. I'm standing on metacognition, the metacognitive domain. And if you zoom in on the slide, I'll tell you what it is. Metacognitive is simply thinking about your thinking. I'll move over to the cognitive domain. Cognitive is what you know. The affective domain, and this is really important here in Second Life, online, on social media, everywhere that we are on our devices. Your feelings. You've probably heard there's a lot of problem with online bullying on social media. The affective domain is important. And finally, we have the behavioral domain, which is your actions, what you do. If you zoom in on the slide, you can see those 4 domains: metacognitive, cognitive, affective, and behavioral. I'm going to skip over the roles today, and you can come back later and scroll through these slides if you'd like to learn about your roles and your characteristics. I just want to focus on these domains and ask you a question. In this class, as you're learning about AI and you're thinking about it, you're thinking about your thinking. You're thinking about the rapid expanse of AI. That's metacognition. Perhaps you already know a lot of good uses of AI. You also probably have some feelings about AI. For example, when I hear that there are some young people forming relationships with AI, almost as though they are a companion or even an intimate friend. Some are even falling in love with their AI companion. How does that make you feel? Does anyone have a concern about the future of AI relationships? Type a Y in the chat if you've considered this or read anything about it. As an example of the affective domain, how you feel. Yes, and security, Marino says. How do you feel of having to remain secure and not really understanding where, if there's any guardrails to help us with AI? That's the affective domain. How we feel about these things. And then as we think about how we feel, we can take action and we can protect ourselves from different AI applications that may not have security, may not use our information wisely, or may try to form an actual relationship with us. AI talks to you when you're using it and says, "Wow, you're very insightful today. How can I help you?" It's easy to think of it as a person. Well, I mentioned we're all prosumers now, producing and consuming content, no matter what age we are. I can bring these concepts down to young children in the metaverse by giving them the words, simpler words, instead of metacognition. If you click on this box over here, you can get some flags. My flags that click on this box right here. The behavioral flag, the affective domain flag. I have a flag for each domain that you see here. For children, I can simplify that. Metacognition simply becomes to think. I can think. Cognition simply becomes to know. I know what to do. I know what AI is. The affective domain simply becomes feel. Even a little child can understand what they feel. And then finally, the behavioral domain becomes do. I can do it. So bringing these domains down for young kids helps us start teaching and learning about AI at a young age. In the chat, I put a little bit about the metaliteracy site if you'd like to look that up later. And you can return here anytime to go through these slides and learn more about metaliteracy. I do have a book chapter coming out soon, which you all might be interested in because this class focuses on AI. And the book chapter is for a book called AI and Metaliteracy. And it should be out really any day now. I will show you one more slide up here. I'm just going to skip through to one that shows you just within the last year, the metaliteracy site has had to change their objectives because of the impact of AI. So look up here and you can see. Anybody see what it says where it's highlighted? If you would maybe type that in the local chat. You'll notice there are letters by all of these objectives. A for affective, M for metacognitive, B for behavioral, and C for cognitive. And suddenly we had to add something to all of these learning objectives because generative AI was released and everyone's able to use AI themselves. Does anyone see what's highlighted on the slide? It says, highlighted in yellow, that now we are responsible to learn how to engage with AI to produce responsible content. So that's even for young children. Yet teachers don't know how to teach this yet. So we have released something to everyone without any training. So I brought up this topic about AI and how quickly it is evolving and how we can apply that to these 4 domains here in 3D. And I've gone over this really quickly today because we had a time zone issue and we didn't have as much time as I had hoped. So just to close this little part about metaliteracy very quickly, how many of you agree with my statement that literacy has changed since the turn of the century? Maybe you haven't even heard of metaliteracy, but whether you call it metaliteracy or not, we all need to learn that it's changed and how to use AI, how to use production of content as prosumers in the future. And this leads us out of the summer season of metaliteracy and into fall. It leads us into digital citizenship. Yes, Marino, digitalization has really taken over literacy. We're going to walk out of the summer zone, back towards the center, and we'll move over to fall. After you've harvested your metaliteracy skills, you can become a good digital citizen, and you can just teleport over if you want to use that slurl. I'm going to walk over so that you see everything stems from the center of the region and then to the four seasons. Now we'll head into Digital Citizenship Grove. Okay, great. Some of you just teleported over. And here's the space where I teach about digital citizenship. Walk on in and sit on a stone. I'll just sit right here on this one. If everyone would sit on a stone, we're just going to get a brief little talk about digital citizenship here. On the ground, you see this beautiful, colorful wheel filled with the elements of digital citizenship. This comes from the DQ Institute. We could have a whole course in this and spend a session on each of the colorful slices of pie on the wheel. But we're just getting a glimpse of it today. There's also a slide up behind me that shows the wheel. And if you look at the top left and you see the light blue color, you'll notice that digital identity is the blue piece of pie. And that's the first element of digital citizenship. Who are you online? Who are you? You have a digital identity. Here as an avatar, I'm looking at your digital identity, sitting on these stones right here. It seems a bit overwhelming to look at all these slices of pie, cybersecurity, cyber safety, digital footprint management. There's a lot of elements of digital citizenship. How can we teach this to children? It's complex. Well, it is complex. My goal is to break this down, simplify it, so people realize that it's their personal responsibility. The 8 spokes on the wheel are digital identity, digital rights, digital literacy. Hey, that's metaliteracy. Digital communication, digital emotional intelligence. Hey, that's the affective domain. This all fits together. Digital security, digital safety, and digital use. That's a lot to cover. And to make things even more confusing, this is not the only model for digital citizenship. There are several others on this region. If you were to pan way over here out to the side, there's several walls that tell information about models to teach digital citizenship. But it doesn't matter which model you choose. It doesn't even matter what you call it. What matters is that you know it's your personal responsibility to be a good digital citizen. Some people, they get a little confused about the cloud. Where is all of their personal digital content? Where is it? We have this vague idea that it's up there in the cloud. Well, as a metaphor to show you that there's a lot of confusion and there's a dark side to digital culture, let's go to the cloud. We're going to teleport there. If you walk up to this cloud stone that I'm standing on, you can touch it and you can get a map to teleport to the cloud. I'm standing on a cloud. I'll move over so you can touch the cloud stone. If you prefer, you can just teleport there. Here's the squirrel. If you want to just teleport up there. But it's kind of fun to touch the cloud, find the map, and then I'll meet you up in the sky at the cloud. I'm going to touch the cloud, get the map, and choose teleport. All right. Oh, good. People are arriving in the cloud. I'll wait a couple minutes and allow everyone to gather. And I'm hoping you realize this is a brief overview of many classes that can be taught here in each of the 4 seasons. Now we're in fall, we're in the autumn quadrant, we're in the digital citizenship area. So welcome to the cloud. You are entering the information nebula. Is the cloud really way up in the sky, housing all my apps and data and photos and more? No, it's not actually a cloud in the sky. What is the cloud? Would somebody type in chat what the cloud actually is? A database, great answer. Storage, great answer. Yes, put that together. Data, storage, absolutely. Huge data servers, giant buildings with gigantic data servers, and AI now requires an incredible amount of energy. In fact, we are now building nuclear power plants just to help with all of the energy needed for the gigantic data servers AI requires. As digital citizens, we sometimes think our technology is like magic. It just simply happens for us with a snap of the fingers. But behind the scenes, there's no magical wizard. There's a huge need for energy. And there are consequences for using our technology and using all that energy. AI takes tons and tons of water. There is a dark side to hurting our planet and to potentially harming ourselves if we are not good digital citizens. There's a dark side, and that's where we're going now. So I'm going to ask you to step off this cloud. It's where metaliteracy is standing, because you're going to fall. I'm going to move the cloud. We're going to fall straight down through the sky. Please don't touch your camera and move around. Don't use your mouse, because I want you to fall right into the digital dark room. Some people have problems with dizziness when they're falling, so I'll put the landmark here. I'm going to fall because it's fun. If you want to fall over the hole, watch out, here it comes. I'm going to take away the cloud here. I'm going to move it. Okay. Here we go. Oh, good. You're moving out. You're going to fall. You're going to fall all the way down. Don't use your camera. It'll just fall down. Okay, there you go. I'll meet you there. If you don't want to fall, here's the swirl. And I'll meet you inside the dark room. I am me if you get lost, and I'll teleport you over. Great, you fell and you found it. And you can see I'm sitting way up here. See if you can spot me. Sit on a beanbag and look at my slide about the dark side of digital culture. We each have a personal dashboard of incoming information. Unlike the past, when we had gatekeepers providing us with content that had been evaluated for us. You decide what apps are on your phone. You decide what information you're going to intake every day on your personalized, wallpapered background of a digital device. Evaluation of all this incoming information is difficult. There's way too much information coming at us. Do you ever feel overwhelmed and think it's impossible to keep up with the endless scroll of information? Well, consider this. Too much information can be just as much of a problem as too little. In the Dark Ages, people had very little access to information, but now we're drowning in it. In fact, some futurists predict we could enter the digital Dark Ages if we do not figure out how to deal with too much information. I'll move over here. You can see I'm sitting near FOMO. Type in chat if you know what FOMO stands for. Anybody? Does anyone know what the letters FOMO stand for? Social media posts make it seem like something's happening elsewhere. In fact, many teens sleep with their phone right beside them. They're never seen without their phone because that's where life actually takes place. It stands for fear of missing out. And I'll move over to this seat. This is one of our biggest problems in digital citizenship. Confirmation bias. We tend to follow and friend people who think just like us. But that's not how we learn. We learn in collision with the ideas of others, through debate, respectful debate, and through new perspectives. We seem to have forgotten the ability to disagree yet remain respectful. And is big data mining all of our content? Sometimes I think that Google knows more about me than I know about myself, because our phones track our every movement and surveillance cameras watch everywhere we go. Our phones know every place that we have been. Perhaps privacy is dead. I often say it died in 2008, but it seems like a joke, but maybe it did. Type a Y in the chat if you have concerns about some of these things I'm talking about. If you have concerns about privacy, cybersecurity, big data mining all of our content. Think about some other concerns you might have, particularly with the rise of AI. Our human brains are changing. They're changing as we oscillate through our metamodern world. Just within the past few months, we've seen a huge rise of AI, and it is impacting literacy. Consider how AI uses human productivity to create new content. Sometimes I ask myself, are we enhancing our creativity or outsourcing it? I was a writing trainer. I want to write my own words, even though it requires reflection and revision. And I want the next generation to learn that process. All of this relates to digital citizenship. And in order to embrace our personal responsibility for digital citizenship, we have to figure out a way out of this dark room and all these dark concerns. Each one of us, from the youngest child who watches parents staring into their phones, to the elderly person who's told to go online for health information, we're all required to use digital content. We're all digital citizens. So I think the only way out of this digital dark room that we're all in right now is to follow me out through back into the digital citizenship grove this way. Okay, follow me. Whew, there's where we're sitting. We're back down below, and I want you to walk over to the Neil Postman Museum with me, or you can just teleport here. Out front of the Neil Postman Museum is a social media vending machine, just for fun. There's a lot of concerns with social media and social media addiction. So just click on the social media vending machine and get your hit. Get your hit for the day. What app do you need? It's kind of a joke, but it's also a big concern. Becoming a digital citizen is a lifelong process. It doesn't happen by just going through a checklist. There's also some nutshells. If you look this way, you see the digital citizenship there's a nutshell, and I'll zoom up. Digital legacy in a nutshell. And there's walls of digital citizenship here. where you can learn more about ways to teach it, ways to learn it, and there's another nutshell, digital archival in a nutshell. So there's a lot that you can come back and learn about here, but first I want you to stand here by the Neil Postman Museum. If you look here outside the building, you can click on this sign. Who was Neil Postman? You'll get a note card. I was so inspired to read Neil Postman's work that I made this museum. And he has 10 books that are in here that you can get information about. He was born in 1931. He died in 2003, before the smartphone. And he was prophetic. He had a futuristic view of how technology would impact our lives. So let's walk inside. And you can sit at the magic table. When you sit, another chair is rezzed. So just come inside and take a seat here. We'll see if we can all fit around the table in the Neil Postman Museum. All right, so everybody's looking around here. I'll just tell you a little bit about Neil Postman and how this relates to your class and what you're learning. You know, I told you that we wanted to talk today and answer these 3 questions. Where are we now? And I wanted to ask you, have you heard of metamodernism? Great, it's a new term. If you look it up later, you can see that a lot of people believe that we're moving into a new philosophical era in time. And the rapid rise of AI is impacting this. So there's a new word for you, metamodernism. That was the first thing that I wanted you to contemplate today. And then the next thing that I wanted you to think about was, what has changed? Do you think a new look at literacy is important? So maybe you'd never heard that word, metaliteracy. So you've got another new word today. And you know, people don't have to use that word. They can just call it digital literacy, whatever they want to call it. But I want you to think about the fact that literacy has greatly changed. And finally, the third thing I wanted you to think about was in the 3rd season, are you a good digital citizen? Do you think it's important? Great, I see a why. That makes me happy because it's not easy to teach digital citizenship. It's huge. There's so much to it. And that's why in this region, I'd like to have more classes where people can come to each season, dig in a little deeper to those particular concepts. And so next week, if you use your camera, the 4th season is AI Mountain. And I'm using my camera to zoom in on it right now. It's a beautiful, big, snowy mountain. And it's a metaphor for the fact that AI can be amazing, but it can also be dangerous. Just like a beautiful mountain, and in winter with all of the snow, it can be so beautiful, but to climb it can be dangerous. So next week, you're going to get to climb it. And I hope that it will be a fun and immersive experience to wrap up the 4 seasons. Spring, metamodernism. Summer, metaliteracy. Fall, digital citizenship. And then you're prepared. You're prepared to go to base camp next week and climb the mountain.